సంస్కృతి టాక్స్ ప్రతి నెల 3వ శనివారం 4 నుంచి 6 గంటల వరకు ఏదైనా ఒక విషయంపై ఒక విశిష్ట వ్యక్తిచే ఉపన్యాసం ఉంటుంది. ఈ నెల ఆ కార్యక్రమానికి అధ్యక్షత వహించినట్టుగా సంస్కృతి అధ్యయన కేంద్ర డైరెక్టర్ శ్రీ యుఎం చౌదరి గారిని వేదికపైకి రావాల్సిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను. శ్రీ రాజు గారిని కూడా వేదికపైకి రావాల్సిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను. ఈనాటి వక్త డాక్టర్ ఏ అనంత కృష్ణ గారిని వేదికపైకి సాదరంగా ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాను. వేదికపై ఉన్నటువంటి పెద్దలను పరిచయం చేస్తాను. డాక్టర్ ఈఎం చౌదరి గారు, డైరెక్టర్ సంస్కృతి అధ్యయన కేంద్ర. శ్రీ రాజు గారు, వారు ఇండస్ట్రియలిస్ట్. ఈనాటి వక్త డాక్టర్ ఏ అనంతకృష్ణ గారు, అయ్యదేవర అనంతకృష్ణరావు గారు. ఈజ్ ఏ పోస్ట్ గ్రాడ్యుయేట్ ఇన్ లా అండ్ PhD Sanskrit from Usmania University and an advocate on the Bar Council of Andhra Pradesh High Court. He joined State Bank of Hyderabad in year 1967 and retired as Chief Manager in 2002. He served as Director on Board of State Bank of Hyderabad for 6 years from 1992 to 1998. He represented officers community in banks as General Secretary at state and national levels. After retirement, pursued doctorate in Sanskrit besides continuing to volunteer services in various community development organizations. Dr. Anantha Krishna Rao garu has done an exhaustive study on jurisprudence in Ancient Bhārat in all important aspects of Vedic literature to modern books on legal studies and written a seminal book on the theme. Now, Vayaktik Geet by Ravi Krishna ji.
संगठन गढ़े चलो सुपंथ पर बढ़े चलो, भला हो जिसमें देश का वो काम सब किए चलो। संगठन गढ़े चलो सुपंथ पर बढ़े चलो, भला हो जिसमें देश का वो काम सब किए चलो। युग के साथ मिल के सब कदम बढ़ाना सीख लो, एकता के स्वर में गीत गुनगुनाना सीख लो, एकता के स्वर में गीत गुनगुनाना सीख लो। भूल कर भी मुख में जाति पंथ की न बात हो, भाषा प्रांत के लिए कभी न रक्तपात हो। फूट का घड़ा भरा है फोड़ कर बढ़े चलो, भला हो जिसमें देश का वो काम सब किए चलो। संगठन गढ़े चलो, सुपंथ पर बढ़े चलो। भला हो जिसमें देश का, वो काम सब किए चलो। आ रही है आज चारों ओर से यही पुकार, हम करेंगे जाग मातृभूमि के अपार। हम करेंगे जाग मातृभूमि के लिए अपार। कष्ट जो मिलेंगे मुस्कुराते सब सहेंगे हम। देश के लिए सदा जिएंगे और मरेंगे हम। देश का ही भाग्य अपना भाग्य है सोच लो। भला हो जिसमें देश का, वो काम सब किए चलो। संगठन गढ़े चलो, सुपंथ पर बढ़े चलो। भला हो जिसमें देश का, वो काम सब किए चलो। भला हो जिसमें देश का, वो काम सब किए चलो।
Now contest setting by Dr. E.M. Chaudhary ji. Good afternoon to everybody. The main speaker in this part of the function, Dr.A.Anantha Krishna Rao, Sri Raju Garu, the Managing Trustee and Vice Chairman of Samskruti Foundation, and dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you now, I think, are already aware of this program called Samskruti Talks, because it is on the upswing. As I said last time, the kind of programs that are happening, the kind of speakers we are getting, and the kind of audience that is present, all of them are on the upswing and going from strength to strength. We are from Samskruti Foundation, we are really happy to see this. So let me congratulate all the people who have come here gathered for this program, and I am sure you will leave this hall happier than you were earlier because of the quality of the program that's being conducted here. If you go through the kit that you have been given, you will find one write-up on this Samskruti Talks, which gives a brief account of the purpose and the scope of Samskruti Talks, why we are conducting it, what's the basic purpose, and what is the expected outcome we expect from this. While you can read a little later, just for emphasis, I will just cover a few points. First of all, it is this Samskruti Talks is perhaps a misnomer that it is not just a talk of the run-of-the-mill kind in which a talk is given by an expert, people of different composition attend, they ask some questions and they are probably answered, some of them are answered, some of them are not, and then that theme is forgotten. Now that is how a general talk series goes, but we are a little different. Here, not only the speaker, but the audience are also very carefully chosen. In Samskruti Adhyayan Kendra, which is one of the units of Samskruti Foundation, we have set for ourselves the task of, finding ways of including the elements of our culture into the public policy. Now that's a very simple statement, but it's a very complex, complicated and huge task. It began in the year 2018 following an important international seminar, and we started on this in a small way in 2021, around that time. But we are a small number of people
with limited resources. So we just started working on a few themes, but the expansion scope of this is so huge that we need to involve many people from the society who have the competency and the interest required to do this job of inculcating or introducing the cultural values in our public policy. And therefore, many of the people present in this August audience here are public policy practitioners and have an exposure to how public policy operates, and perhaps and therefore they have a better capability and exposure to how this can possibly be done. And therefore we conduct these programs in a very focused way, in which the speaker delivers a talk, but then the audience also are invited to participate, share views and give explanations, ask questions and interact. So therefore this is going to be more than just a one-way street. And secondly, this is expected to generate some ideation process which has the possibility of generating ideas in which the Samskruti Adhyayan Kendra unit of Samskruti Foundation can take up things with contributions coming from these people who can do it. Because the task is huge. Unless it is done simultaneously in different ways by different people, this job cannot move forward. And therefore, my sincere appeal to you, to those who are present here is, please don't hold up your thoughts and ideas. Please think about it even later, even after the event is over. Discuss it with your colleagues. And if there are some things which you think you can work on, please do approach us and just get in touch with us. We will be very happy and glad to involve and take services from you, and will be thankful to you for that. So this is the background of the Samskruti Talks. Please also at your leisure read the write-up given to you, which will give it in a little more detail. Now today we have Sri Anantha Krishna, whose introduction will be made, is it not? It will be made, but before that, I will just like to make one point, that the talk today is based on a seminal work that is written by him, that's a book written by him based on his PhD dissertation. And just a brief gist of the book I will just read out to you quickly so that you get the background, because he was of the view that in a short time it is not possible for him to tell everything that he would like to tell, and therefore if this kind of brief exposure is given, it will be a little better. Okay, so that's why I just read out. Jurisprudence in Ancient Bharat is a remarkable scholarly work that brings to the light the depth, sophistication and originality of India's ancient legal traditions. The book stands out for its richness of content, meticulous research and thoughtful organization, offering readers a comprehensive exploration of jurisprudential concepts from Vedic foundations to later legal developments. It successfully bridges philosophy, history and legal analysis, demonstrating how deeply rooted and evolved the Indian judicial tradition has been across centuries. The effect invested by the author is evident in the careful study of primary sources, the clarity of interpretation, and the systematic presentation of complex ideas in an accessible manner. By tracing connections between ancient principles and modern legal systems, the work not only contributes to academic scholarship but also rekindles appreciation for indigenous intellectual heritage. Such indication reflects both scholarly commitment and a genuine passion for uncovering and preserving the legal wisdom of ancient Bharat. This book deserves a recognition as a valuable contribution to the study of jurisprudence, legal history and cultural heritage, and it will undoubtedly serve as an important reference for scholars, students and readers interested in understanding the profound legacy of India's legal traditions. So, particularly, I just would like to add one thing. Particularly from those who are in the legal profession, I would urge them to buy a copy of this book and also think of what I have said before. I may say a word about it a little later also at the end of the program also. Thank you.
ఇప్పుడు శ్రీ అయ్యదేవర అనంత కృష్ణరావు గారు జ్యూరిస్ప్రుడెన్స్ ఇన్ ఏన్షియంట్ భారత్ పుస్తక రచయిత మనల్ని ఉద్దేశించి ప్రసంగిస్తారు.
సభకు నమస్కారం అండి. దిశంతు మే దేవ సదా త్వదీయాః దయాతరంగానుచరాः కటాక్షాః శ్రోత్రేషు పుంసామృతం సరస్వతీం సంస్కృతామహి. My promise to all great audience who are sitting with me. I treat it as a great privilege to stand before this great organization, Samskruti Foundation. I think it is an honor and also a great opportunity to speak something about the work I have done. Can I speak? Then, this is jurisprudence in ancient Bharat. Jurisprudence is a philosophy of law. It's a generic term where judicial procedures are also there, and also earlier in our Vedic times, even religion, morality, customs, all were included in that. Subsequently, antiquity of Indian jurisprudence and system in ancient India, origin of law to the Vedic period. Rigveda is the basis for this law, as far as law is concerned. Not only law, in Vedic period, there are so many disciplines improved, developed like anything. Say mathematics, astronomy, astrology, philosophy. You call anything which has developed scientifically also in nowadays, it was there in the Veda. There is a saying that whatever is available outside, that is there in the Vedas. What is not there in Veda is not there anywhere. That was the situation. Actually, the hymns of Rigveda, they were mantra drashtaraha, the highly evolved souls, saints, they could visualize certain hymns, that is mantras, from the nature, and they rendered it by voice, generation to generation. Subsequently, after a long time, on these talapatras, say palm leaves, with a sharp ghantam, they call it, as they wrote. And at that time, the Sanskrit manuscripts spread over all over the world. And some of the people developed interest in doing study of it, they did it. In fact, when after Britishers started, they specially studied and found out that some great thing is there in the Vedas. So they took all these things to their area, studied them, and they wanted to take the credit of it. Not only Rome, German, they claimed that antiquity of all these things are with them. Because it's a remote past, generations, thousands of years after Vedic period, only the Sutra literature came. In fact, Avinash Chandra Das fixed that Vedas formed between 2500 BC and 7500 BC. Sanatana Dharma believers, they said, traditional scholars, they have not agreed any of these views. They believe that Vedas are eternal and it's a heap of sound. They disappear and appear as per the Yuga Dharma and all those things, but this was not accepted. Some even divine nature is attributed to them. Western scholars at least agreed that Rigveda is the oldest testament, oldest treatise available there. Jurisprudence is the philosophy law. It discusses what is law, what is its purpose, how it generates, how does it develop, it's a generic term. It has impact on the economic and cultural changes that take place. The contemporary society changes. Law is not made by somebody else. It evolved from the society depending upon the contextual nature of the situation. Jurisprudence, philosophy, law kept pace with the social changes. Ancient India, tremendous development of mathematics, astronomy, astrology, as I told, concept of Ṛtam is understood as religious, and it's a legal and social order. There is a difference between Ṛtam and Satyam. Satyam is the truth; it doesn't change. Present, past, future, and all. Ṛtam is straightforwardness, right? A sort of a norm that adjusts to the context of the yugas, depending upon the social context obtaining there. That's the difference. And the Ṛtam is the basis for our law. This is what it was said. Then Dharma concept is a big concept which encompasses everything, including law. In fact, origin of where it means responsibility, justice, righteous law, and all. Dharmo Vishwasya Jagatah Pratishta. This is the Vedic dictum, basing on which the whole globe stands, is called the Dharma. The destruction of Dharma is the beginning of Vyavahara. Normally, litigation comes where you go out of this. Then kingship is created by saints for welfare of the society. Divine power was attributed to him from various gods. Like sometimes we hear news, some aliens came here like that. I don't know, Krutayugam and all such situations over there, we cannot understand. But the king is all the three aspects he is maintaining. Then he says, law is the king of kings. It is not unlike the Western situation. There the ruler is the above law and all those things. Law is the king of kings, nothing is superior to law. The law aided by the power of the king enables the weak to prevail over the strong, even now we are all observing. Even kings are subordinate to dharma, to the rule of law. This is what Dr. Arthashastra said. Judicial and executive powers are vested with the king. And sources of law, Smritis, Sila, good behavior, in addition to this, the commentaries, judicial precedents and legislation. Sabha and Samiti, like our Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, king is the chief justice, Prashna Vibhaka, he can question. Sabha consists of Brahmana. Brahmana is a definition given by Bharatam. An intellectual is called Brahmana. It has no connotation or relation to caste or anything. So, they are well versed in Vedas. And king, though Dandadhara, he is the chief, aspires the support of Sabha and Samiti. That is, they can control him. There is a good prayer in Rigveda. He will always pray that you should help me. Like that. He is under the control of this. That is what leads to the democratic principle and all. Monarchy was the normal polity from Vedic polity, but it was a limited constitutional monarchy. The autocracy of the king was limited by democratic checks, such as election and exclusion. Vedic democracy, Narishta they call them, it is a group of people assembly like our Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Vedic democracy also know about the vote of majority, for which they call it as an Narishta. That is Bahava Sambhuya. Ekam Vakyam Vadeyu Tathena Parahi Atilangani. Minority cannot jump over that. That is what the basic principle of democracy. This was there in the Atharva Veda. At the time itself, such a situation was there. Western jurisprudence, the imperative command of the king constituted the law, whereas in Hindu jurisprudence, the law was a command even to the king. That is the major difference. Then Dharma Sutras. After Vedic period, Dharma Sutras came, written code, a base for the future enactments. Gautama, Apastamba, Bauddha, Vasishta, Vishnu and others, they tried to take out, and at this time only the Vedas, whatever the sounds they were appearing also, not in some Talapatras or whatever you call it as, they divided that into 4 Vedas and all at that time, just before this. Then this Dharma Sutras, they almost came down from items immemorial, from times immemorial, from the special knowledge of the sages. This became the code, a sort of basis for the enactments and all. King to know the law from the competent authorities, Sabha. Sabha is nothing but a group of intellectuals. Judicial authority came to be delegated to a Pradhyavaka. That is a judge. So king used to delegate his powers to the judge. These sutras belong to last branch of the Vedic literature. Thereafter only this Smriti literature comes. Doctrine of separation of powers was observed at that time. This is surprising. Rajadharma made clear distinction between judicial and executive and legislative functions. Executive functions by the king on the advice of the council of ministers. Judicial powers exercised basing on the rules framed by the Parishad. Imposition of penalties exclusively prerogative of king. He is not entitled to make any law himself. He was simply to execute the law. He had both the original and apparent jurisdiction. The same point we find now also in the department inquiry procedures. The disciplinary authority, he says, it is a majority or minority punishment. But this right now in Akbar Road in Delhi, our Vigilance Commission is there. Any public sector undertaking, senior officer is charge sheeted, is sent there. They will give that you take action against him by major penalty or minor penalty. Then the public sector undertaking can initiate under major penalty. So many punishments are there. You can terminate him so that you won't get the pension at all, or else at least you give some increments are taken out. But which decision, which punishment, quantum of punishment is the exclusive prerogative of discipline authority, that was available at that time. This was mentioned in a Sanskrit drama by Sudraka, so Machakatikam was like that. In that, the details were given, in fact. This doctrine of powers is given. Doctrine of separation of powers, Raj Dharma, made it clear. Independence of three. Next slide. Structure of courts were there earlier, you see, surprising. Law courts acquired a shape clearer than those in Vedas. Vedas, some vague is there. That is the only reason why further improved Smriti period. Smriti has in fact gathered all those things and made people's courts with private arbitration quite close to the modern panchayats. Kulani, Sreni, Puga, Guna. The Adhipurta court is appointed by the king. Nopa court is actually king himself will preside over. Special courts were there earlier for foresters, soldiers, military, caravan, and traders in their own special. As we have got some tribunals, debt tribunal, this and that. This was available in Rigveda. Little expansion took place in Sutra literature. Next literature. This is one. The circumstantial evidence was also recognized, but it was not treated as a conclusive proof and all. At the time also it is there. Now also they take help of this, indirectly proving. Subsistent evidence witness here was there. Evidence by appointment of commission. That is, suppose witness is in other country, a commission will be appointed, he deposes before him, that will be taken by the court if he is out of the country. That was there earlier also. Then evidence, that is there. Then documents and position as evidence is there. And hearsay evidence, slide. Witness to be put on oath. Suchakas, employees of the king. Stobakas, volunteers give information to the king to get rewards. Here, one point we will surprised to find out. Suchakars are the employees of the king. They will survey the society. Is there any offense, civil or criminal or any such thing? They report to the king. Then, whereas Stobakas, that they are the public spirited individuals. That is actually the public interest litigation. Now we are having it. At the time it was there. He brings to the notice of the court that here is some offense. Then he appoints, as now being a DGP is appointed to submit a clear report and all. That situation was there at the time. Another important thing you will surprise, privileges of diplomat and proportionate punishment is there. This was seen in Ramayana. When to get an audience with the Ravana, Hanuman has destroyed the Ashokavanam, as we all know it. So then he was brought there. Then he was given a death punishment was given by Ravana. Then Vibhishana said that no, he has come as an ambassador. There are certain diplomatic immunities are there. Some proportionate punishment can be given. That is, you burn his style and all. With that he has burnt the whole Lanka also. That's a different thing. But that was also there. It's something surprise. You couldn't find a proper date when the Ramayana was organized. That is the greatness of it. Kautilya Arthashastra made it very clear about the procedures and everything. In fact, Smritis is the modern method of codification, Hindu law, literature, whatever procedures are obtaining right now in the courts, from magistrate courts to the High Court and Supreme Court. The appeal levels are also there, different courts are also there. It's a systematic thing was going on even at the Rigvedic time. Though they may sit under a tree or something, whatever it may be. Sabhan Samiti used to operate in that atmosphere also. Then legal text. Next came the commentaries and digests, great people. They took the Smriti and they wrote in such a commentary about the rationale of everything. The Privy Council had to accept that as a rule and they implemented it. That was the stature and the importance given to the Smritikaras and all these people who made the legal text. Everything is there. This Mimamsa, this is also a peculiar thing. Mimamsa is nothing but the science of interpretation. The Vedic knowledge, Prakriti, that is Prakriti Bhasha or something which is the mother of Sanskrit or anything, is a very big. Ṛtam is a book which is meant for the interpretation of that. So, in the Mimamsa Shastra is the science of interpretation. In this, there is one peculiar thing, Kakebhya Dadi Rakshitam. And a card is protected from crows. That is an illustrative. There are, in these interpretations, illustrative interpretation, literary interpretation. This is a literary interpretation. This is a illustrative interpretation. Kakebhya Dadi Rakshati. And protects card. It doesn't mean that dogs and cats can eat. You understand? This is one situation. It's not literary. It's not exhaustive and all. This was taken into consideration by the American Parliament because their constitution was promulgated in somewhere in 1791 and their army and navy, only two words are mentioned there. And to add navy, add air force, they had to amend the constitution. And amendment of constitution is so difficult process in US that 1/3 of the both houses and also 3/4 of the states have to accept for that. So they relied on this illustrative interpretation and said army and navy includes air force also. Because 1791 there was no air force, only 1903 or somewhere Wright brothers invented is one thing, but our Pushpaka Vimana in Ramayana is a different thing. Whether you call it as a discovery or invention, it is for us. Yeah. This is what Hindu law got divided into two branches, this Mitakshara and Dayabhaga. After all, that Mitakshara whole country, Dayabhaga is only for Assam and Eastern. Depending upon whoever performs that Shraddha or like that, he has the right to inherit and this. The other says there's a propensity of blood relation, they can inherit this and this. But the commentators can be aptly described as the architects of Hindu legal systems. A lot of subjective matter, they made it very practical and understandable. That is the reason why privilege, that is Privy Council also recognized their use. Immemorial customs acquired in force of law. So that is how law has come. Suppose a custom is accepted with society and for a long time, it is made a rule and also it is accepted. Hindu law was never static. Even the most ancient writers like Gautama, Manu, Yajnavalkya and others recognized this efficacy of standards as a source of law, and later writers gave it overriding effect over even the written text. Legislation played a key role thereafter. Even after that also, you can adjudication by the courts sometimes make new law in courts. This is also a source of law. Sometimes they interpret in such a way, then thereafter basing on that some legislation also would take place. Constitution of India, the great thing is, when it was implemented on January 26th, like that in 1950, Hindu law as existing at the time continued to be the law by virtue of Article 372 of the Constitution. Even then, all the changes carried out by the legislation on topic such as inheritance, succession, marriage, gifts, partition, was the old law continue to operate subject to the legislative changes and are enforceable in courts of law. That is the importance given for the laws made during the Vedic period, Sutra period, Smriti period and all this. Some of the ancient rules of law propounded the Sutrakaras, Smrtikaras and Nibandhakaras, the legal texts they prepare, take us surprise by their strikingly modern character and outstanding insight to jurisprudential concepts. The jurists not only developed a substantial law applicable to Hindus, but also formulated side by side the objective law for the enforcement of substantial law, for the practical aspect of the law. Then basic features of ancient judicial system in India conforms in many respects to those obtaining in the present day system. For example, the preparation of plaints, whatever all the four parts, plaint or say reply and the arguments and the judgment, all the four parts as obtaining now also were there at that time. In ancient judicial system, throughout legal process, sufficient care was taken by adjournments. They were very conservative in due adjournment in the case. What happened during British rule, lot of technicalities have come. And on account of that, there is more scope for this postponement or adjournments of that. Earlier it was not there. That was also essential. In ancient judicial system, then the rule of law stands in contrast to the idea that ruler is above law. The ancient legal system meticulously functioned strictly in accordance with the principles of natural justice. Owing to influence of the Western jurisprudential theories during the period of British rule, the spiritual and moral aspect has been eroded to a great extent. That is what technical aspect has come, and the procedures stand disproportionately increased. The ancient Hindu judicial system encompasses huge canvas with a mixture of moral and religion concepts besides law. Simple procedures, the conservative approach of granting adjournments, brushing aside the unwanted technicalities, stress on purity of evidence, judge taking initiative to find truth, threat of punishment on judges and witnesses for abuse of their position, consent, quick delivery of justice, and the characteristic features given to the judges and the witnesses. This was all taken into consideration. That was the situation. Natural law theory, all theories are depending on, earlier in Rigveda they gave to some divinities attributed to it depending upon the nature and all. Even positivist theory, in normatism, that is a rule of law, and the law reflects certain social economic relationship. This has come in the recent times. This sociological interpretation of jurisprudence was there, even our Vedic period also. And Ṛtam was actually taking into consideration the contextual changes at the time. The Industrial Revolution of 1890 completely altered the situation. Machine production ushered in totally new kind of social relations. Customary law, with regard to ancient Indian jurisprudence, was originally customary law, and there was no statutory law in ancient India. In Vedic period, Sabha and Samti used to provide guidelines to the king for the administration of justice. Parishad, consisting of legal human rights, they framed the rules and regulations, and he has to follow it. As our Supreme Court judges, High Court judges have to follow the legislation, and within the purview of that only they have to express their own views or agreement or whatever it is. That was their idea. In Sutra literature, detailed guidelines given to the king about the administration of justice. Then Arthashastra is taken all these so details. They whatever procedures are obtained now, everything appears there. Human rights was recognized post-war to United Nations Charter and all. These fundamental rights represent the basic values cherished by the people of this country in Vedic times, and they are calculated to protect. This duty-based rights, in fact, in our country, in Vedic time also, duty-based. Duty-based rights means a teacher has got a duty to student, a student has got a duty to teacher, king has got a duty to people, people have got a duty to father has a duty to son, son has a duty to father, husband has a duty to wife, wife has a duty to husband. These reciprocal duties give the authority of various human rights to both of these. This is called the duty-based rights. This was their identified long back, and that's human rights were incorporated in Abraham Lincoln of the Negroes case on account of their slavery and all. Then the Mimamsa Charter, all these human rights which we have mentioned in the Constitution of India are also there. Then special rights of women is also very very important, and undoubtedly the right to equality and all other human rights are all applicable to men and women equally. Yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devata, yatra etastu na pujyante sarvas tatra apalada kriya. So that was given the importance to the women. Then Pita Rakshati Kaumare, Bharta Rakshati Yavane, Rakshanti Stabire Putra, Nastri Swatantre Bharati. This slokam is there in Samskruti. This was objected by some people. I don't mention caste or anything. Before Bhandara University in Pune, this Samskruti was burnt to ashes. Then one lady, this is here in the interpretation of verse given in a correct perspective. They say they burnt on account of saying that woman has no freedom. But that was a misinterpretation. In Hinduism, a woman is looked after not because she is inferior or incapable, but on the contrary because she is treasured. She is the pride and power of the society. Just as the crown jewels should not be left unguarded, neither should a woman be unprotected. No extra burden of earning a living should be placed on women who already bear huge responsibilities in society, childbirth, childcare, domestic well-being and spiritual growth. She is the transmitter of culture to her children. This was the given to us. This was there in that at that time. So that is the importance given to women in our country. Unfortunately, that standards are not being up here now. Survey Janas, survey Samskruti Badre Sarvani Paschit, Sarve Badrani Paschit, Markachit, let all people be happy and free from diseases. Let all seek auspicious things and nobody suffer from grief. This is the Dharma, this is the basis, this on which the society built up in Bharat. That is the Ancient Bharat's future vision and all. I don't know, we have to see how long we are meeting the standards. In fact, I just recall so many of things because the book is around 4 years work for me, and Pulayala Sriram Maho Mahopadhyaya and a Padma Shri awardee. When he was suggested by Chief Justice Bhaskar Rao, a distant relation, he was Karnataka Chief Justice, retired and came there. Why don't you do it on human rights, he said. When I discussed with Ṛtam Dharma, a Sanskrit scholar who translated around 150 Sanskrit books into Telugu literature, anything, you see Vyakarana, everything is there. He suggested that you take up this. Of course, before I joined the bank itself, I was having LLB degree, he said you take up. Then we thought, what is that we can get by digging out that? A lot of changes have taken place, when we talk about Vedic culture and trying to trace the law codes and what is the jurisprudence and all. What is that? He said that, that will create a national spirit. People should know whatever this civilization was obtaining. A sari can be doubted with a matchbox. That was the finality of the textile industry obtaining at the time. We were doing international trade at the time, where barbaric situations were obtaining, high-level civilization was obtaining here. Where we saw that Vedic literature, whatever is available. So we feel pride that, these people have already done. In fact, it will be more free here for artificial intelligence. Right now, we are talking about it. And in fact, on the other day, there was a good meeting was there when parents were telling it should always be under open. All these things were also there in the gravitational force was there. What is not there earlier? The air force was there, aircraft was there. But on account of foreign rule, on account of alien rule, and thousands of years over, then we could not trace it out. Whatever little obtained in libraries, there is one literal Oriental library at Usman University, and I used to go there when I was doing the manager of Swami branch. Such a fund of information and wealth is there. People should know we were once great. We also claim now great. We at least year 2001 I visited US, nobody knows what India. When I go to morning walk and all, Now, almost everywhere you go on the 52 states, the India is known now. I don't know, whatever the government scale regulation should be there. I want to find fault with anybody else. But now the situation is different. Bharat became the fulcrum about the changes. Even recently, for the last 2-3 years, whatever changes are taking place provides such a confidence to us that even our economy is developing, GDP is developing, so we feel very happy, and particularly myself, I am very happy to sit before, because I take excuse for sitting and speaking to you. I treat it as a great privilege to share some of my thoughts on the Vedic culture, Sutra literature, take the legal texts, customs, this, that, and all. I think thank you so much for the opportunity given to me. I should thank Chaudhary Garu, and the only
short but very effective deliverance of the concepts on the subject. Yes, everything I really feel very happy. Basically, what we are missing today is imparting of the knowledge of our past, of the knowledge that has missed of our very, very long time. Today we are seeing the effect of all those actions by many to avoid us from gaining that knowledge. Many to avoid us from, as such, any subject, whether jurisprudence or anything, any subject. Like today in modern day times when we translate into like present day systems, the original knowledge was L1 document. Level 1 document. And subsequently it is evolved into L2, L3 and subsequently executable documents. So very fundamental knowledge of L1 document we are very fundamental. We have removed. This is where we are losing. The various Smritis like Parashara, Yajnavalkya, Bodhaya, Smritis were meant for welfare of the society. What Parashara has banned or whatever is accepted, because the situation by then was necessary and imminent for change of the law or procedure in daily life and our living standards. Our procedures. This is how widow marriage also was done as is how widow marriage in those days. It is fundamental concept of welfare of the society. Fundamental concept convey these messages to all members of the society, irrespective of any place, any creed, any culture in our India. If we try to give this information through academia, not without any prejudice, if this can happen, people, younger generation start appreciating the knowledge that we already have. So that L1 document knowledge once seeps in the minds of that L1 document, the rest of the things will become easy. That's what I want. The rest of the things will become easy. That's what I want.
thank you. Because the mic, and what he has observed is, this is what I also told that when I was discussing this Sri Pulelas Ramchandra Garu, if we take out what is that its impact, he said that the young people, the national spirit should be evoked. Once we were very great. Otherwise, what happens? Okay, foreign rule was there, invasions were there, all were done. But at least among the people, especially in YouTube, I have seen one program where in Andhra Pradesh, the Pravachanakarta, that man was there and the government officials were there and one IAS officer was anchoring there and they allotted some amount. And for students, they are telling about what are the parents, how you should behave with the parents, this, that, and how to create a basic good culture at the family level, at the students level. This was initiated, I really surprised to find it. Somewhere it should begin. Otherwise, the present society news we are seeing how it's a very, we can't share also that no relation, father, daughter, this, that. daily some news and even cheatings. I don't know how to. By God only, I think in our country nowadays now are putting their CC cameras and all. Even in some lanes earlier it was also not there.
One more question.
Yeah, share.
As you said about CCTV cameras, whether they get all times CCTV cameras, so many times.
Some control.
Recollect my reading from one of the recollect my way back in 75 and 76, one IPS officer, he wrote an article on IPS officer, honesty, article on the drugs. He says honesty comes when there is fear of law. Drugs, he says honesty, when there is fear of God, there is fear of law. Unless when there is fear of God in society, unless none of these things will get really, none of these things, they only help us in investigation.
Yeah.
They only help us in investigation. Thank you.
Yeah, we agree. I think normally many interactions may not be there. I don't know. Even somebody speaks, okay, it's some lady.
Technology is definitely helping us.
Thank you so much for the lecture. And sir, you said that earlier women were guarded because as a jewelry, because they were treasured. But now the scenario is not like that. Sir, what is your view on this? I am just asking this question out of curiosity, not that I am going to change my profession. I'll still be here like this. But what happened is, see, earlier when the women were supposed to be treasured, they were treated like queens also. But now women are treated like maids in the house. So it is like a replacement of the maids that they are getting in the house in the name of daughter-in-law. So what's your view on that, sir?
There is no difference, madam. Even aircrafts are they are holding charge of them. But earlier situation was like that. And that is especially a European lady gave that interpretation. Hindu society recognizes her as a jewel in the crown. It should not be left unguarded. And these people interpreted she has no freedom. Then another man said, one minister is going with a spear, another two persons are there. Do you mean to say that mantri is not a freedom? There is big interest to talk.
So my name is Vivek. Presently, there is a great debate going on regarding few law guidelines in light of UGC guidelines. Now, are there any such references from ancient India where some special privileges were given in law to certain sections of the society in any form? In text will you find it, and is there something to take from there for the current, because in current law there are special laws for special sections, so how do you get it?
That is, vote banking politics, we all know it. So many freebies, you all know it. Supreme Court also, the present judge has commented like anything. Yes, special privileges, as you have mentioned, to some section of the people. First time what happened when Constitution Amendment, first amendment took place, then I think in Madras, one lady could not be accommodated for a seat in medical college or like that. Some poor man or whatever, scheduled caste or whatever you say, it was given. That was the first amendment given, creating a classification of that. Then court has that it was ruled out. Session sheets were given to that lady who comes from a other caste or whatever it may be. Basing on that, amendment was carried out. First amendment carried out to create such classification of different sections of the people. From thereafter, your vote bank politics have contributed much, and now everything is given. Somebody was commenting, everything is given free. Then why shall I work? The situation is reaching that. to some extent rational. For first 10 years they said that. Then every year they are extending it. So we can understand 1950, 51 or like that, First Amendment Constitution for creating this classification and all. Thereafter, for every 10 years also it is getting. Even now also they are not able to bring all the people, poverty, below poverty people to here and on. Still some amendments are going on. This is on account of politics only. That is why standards are very poor now, society. Otherwise, on account of that, relationships are also being damaged like anything. What is the sanctity of here? If you see the Western atmosphere, marriage has no sanctity as it was obtaining earlier. Your children, my children, others' children, only one within one family. Horrible situation. At least somebody should realize Samskruti Foundation like that. A wave like revolutionary trend should come and say that the horrible society is coming up. We should do something. In a war footing, it is turbulence. Where otherwise, you put a drop of salt in somewhere in a tank, nothing happens. So something, a voluminous revolution should come. As Abraham Lincoln take care of human rights for Negroes and all at that time.
We are room maybe for one questions now.
Sir, the case you have referred is Champakam Doraiswamy.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
No,
Thanks.
Not Dorai.
Yeah, Champakam Dorai Raja. Exactly,
And
sir.
then Lakshmi Narayana, my own name. The two cases were there. The judgment basically went against the people and then for the people, and then the necessity to amend the constitution and bring in the clauses was also discussed with them.
Yep.
The question was that whether clauses that amendment is necessary or not is also a big debating point at that time. Like earlier times, because of the pressure from Tamil Nadu legislature, that is one answer. The other question which they have asked is whether there are different punishments for different communities. Yes, there were other than exemption from death sentence. The seriousness of punishment to Brahmins was much more severe. That is there always. So the different kind of punishments are given to different communities because a person who is highly educated person should be given very serious punishment. Not some tribal person or something like that. This difference was always there.
Yeah. I can as well tell. There is no big basis of law for that differentiation of punishments as such. The point is a highly intellectual person committing a fraud is one thing. An ignorant man, uneducated person committing a fraud. Depending upon the intention behind it, that may be taken into consideration by the judge on account of his discretion. Suppose within the major penalty, he can even dismiss, he can even give an improvement. So that like, but there is no exact basis or rule of law to make any differences in the punishment as such. They see the standard of the person who is committing the same offense here and there. That makes a little discussion for the judge to reduce the punishment or like that. Except that there is no particular law saying that you can equality before, at least courts are like that. Not, I am not talking about legislation, executive powers.
If the purpose of law is to uphold the social order, if the purpose of law is to uphold the social order, it is continuously changing and perennial state of flux. Can we stick to a particular set of laws prescribed in the Dharma evolved long and thousands of years back? రెండోది, are we not reeling under the ignorance as to the constitutional vision of justice and upholding the social order? ఈ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఎందుకంటే ఇందాక చెప్పారు కదా, చంపాకం దొరై రాజన్ కేసు కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ అమల్లోకి రాకముందు వచ్చిన జడ్జిమెంట్ అది కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ విజన్ ఆఫ్ జస్టిస్ అని చెప్పి ఈ ఆర్టికల్ 14 పరిధిలోకి ఎట్లా పట్టుకొస్తారు దాన్ని? ఎందుకంటే దేర్ వాస్ కమ్యూనల్ ఆర్డర్ ఇన్ మెడ్రాస్ way back in 1920s. That was challenged in that case. So we are all reading under that confusion. What is the constitutional vision of justice and what is the upholding of social order? That is my opinion, sir. Thank you.
Confusion provisions are there, but depending upon, as I told you, politics and all, there will be some discretions vested with the people, and they make some classifications and all. That is why we are seeing so many things. For a common man, we find there is a lot of injustice, but that has already become a law there. Like such situations are there. We can't help for that. Let us wish that a ruler should be there. Suppose we take the US. Somewhere in 1930s, there was a tower. On 18th floor, we parked the car. Now we are constructing a tower for parking of cars. No, we can't. And the awareness in the society is a matter that should take care of all these things.
Written by the then serving or about to retire or just retired Justice Abdul Nazir of some, I don't know, some High Court or High Court. He was not Supreme Court, Karnataka High Court. He wrote an article, and it immediately caught our attention because a Muslim person, lawyer writing an article, he praised the provisions in the law that were present in our ancient text and sort of raised an objection to our blind following of the law which is imposed, he said, on us by the West and forgetting our own legal system. What an irony is that, he wrote. He particularly gave one example that earlier we could demand justice. Justice was not something which we had to beg for. But right now, what do? Your Honor, may I beg Your Honor, may I implore Your Honor, we beseech the just for the law. This was not the case. The justice was available to the lowest person also in the society, and that person could demand it. So this is a big difference. He says there are several such things. We should examine the Smritis written earlier and take the good things out of them and try to implement them in the current law. That kindled some interest in us. Professor Ṛtam Dharma also is here right now. We wrote in fact a letter to him to come and give a lecture, but somehow that didn't materialize. We have been looking for an opportunity to look at our Indian jurisprudence from that day onwards. It's only today that we got an opportunity to get an exposition on that by an eminent writer and authority on the subject. Really, we are happy that Dr.A.Anantha Krishna gave a beautiful exposition of what is the content of the law. I definitely sympathize with him because we asked him to condense in maybe 30-40 minutes what he should normally take several hours to explain. He explained that also, but finally at the end of the day he managed it beautifully. We at least got a glimpse of what was there. So the points that he mentioned cover the antiquity of the Vedic, the laws that were given by the Vedas, that is universally accepted, which is a distinct point. Then the another point that I learned is that a bulk of it already is now practiced because it is transferred. It's not that we have lost it. It is into the current law system. So that's something for us to be proud of. Though it is not widely discussed, but that's a fact that bulk of that justice system is into the current system also. And then he also has highlighted the merits of that system which are not there in the Western system of law. The important point being, the king is not above the law. King is not the lawmaker either. He only administers the law, justice. King is not the lawmaker. So that is an important point. And so, it was a very important position, and then the question and answer session was also very lively, and I am sure you would have enjoyed the whole session. Again, coming back to the point I made during the introductory talk, that this talk is not meant only for listening and then forgetting. I request those who are serious-minded and who want to contribute to something, please examine this and see how we can, include or make an interface of these laws or the judicial system with our culture and propose things which have the potential to become amendments in public policy, which can be called culture-based public policy. So take it as an appeal. I also appeal all of you to come regularly to this program. You will be sent an invitation well in time. The program is scheduled on the third Saturday of every month, and the time is normally 4 to 6, just thereabouts. Maybe a little change in that timing, but for that it is fixed, and the venue is also this. So with this, I thank once again the speaker, Dr.A.Anantha Krishna Rao, for making a wonderful presentation and at least informing us and raising curiosity in our minds to know more about it. Thank you.
ఇప్పుడు సంస్కృతి ఫౌండేషన్ తరఫున ఈనాటి వక్తను సన్మానించాల్సిందిగా రాజు గారిని రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఇప్పుడు కొన్ని సూచనలు ఉంటాయి, గమనించండి. Namaste. Would like to share few important sutras. Post this session, everyone will be receiving an email which has link to Google Form. Request you to share your valuable feedback. In case you have any questions, please post your question to feedback. So we'll work with speaker and get back response. Second one, our next Samskruti talk will be on March 21st. Shri Umesh Sharaf Garu, former DGP of Telangana State, has agreed to be subject matter expert for that session. We'll be sharing agenda and other details over here. Let me quickly announce the list of participants whom we will security commission announce. I request you to stand as an Sumit Patel Garu, research scholar, if you have. Rudra Garu, IFLU student. Vivek Modi Garu, professional speaker. Dr. K. Sitaraman Garu, assistant professor, Department of Mathematics, KU University. Krishna Kishore Jasti Garu, independent director and former chief commissioner of Income Tax. Madhavacharya Garu, project director, CMS Computer. S. Murali Mohan Garu, principal commissioner of Income Tax. Prafulla Garu, professor, Mahindra University. Anantha Krishna Garu, advocate. T. Tirupati Rao Garu, former Vice Chancellor, Usmania University. Sahiti Mazumdar, Mansoor Mujibwala Garu, founder and CEO of GSPs. Ankam Shankam Garu, joint director, SCB. Venugopal Reddy Garu,
Correspondent and chairman, Bharat Group of Institutions.
Venugopal Reddy Garu, correspondent and chairman, Bharat Institutions. Mrs. Anuradha Bakaran Garu, advocate. Dr.A.Anantha Krishna Rao, retired chief manager from SPs. Jitendra Ayyadevara Garu, director, Parasharam Learning Initiatives. Kiran Anishetti Garu, faculty of UPSC and advocate of High Court of Telangana. Srinivas Dharmala Garu, Master of Kola, ex-OSD and CGA. Anuradha Bisani Garu, practicing company secretary.
Anuradha Pisani and Associate. Dr. Mani Garu, Principal Keshav Memorial College. Dr. Nagalakshmi Garu, former Member Secretary, MGNCI. Krishna Kishore Jasti Garu, N. Anandaru Garu, Engineer AR Plans. Chandrasekhar Garu, ADM LIC. Krishna Mohan Gollamudi Garu, founder KM Law Advocates, KM Law Advocates and Associates. Venur Sridhar Chanakya Garu, Samskruti Talks. Dr. G.S. Muralidharan Garu, Homeopathic Doctor. Srinivas Tatipalli Garu, Senior Manager, Sonata Software Limited. Ksheerasagar Garu, Samskruti Adhyayana Kendra Member. धन्यवाद. शांति मंत्र अनुमति श्रीनिवास गारू.
Leader follow is repeat. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah.
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah.
Sarve santu niramaya.
Sarve santu niramaya.
Sarve bhadrani pashyantu.
Sarve bhadrani pashyantu.
Ma kashchit dukkhabhag bhavet.
Ma kashchit dukkhabhag bhavet.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.